Welcome to another episode of Bonus Round of Double Tap, where we talk about some topics in between podcast episodes. Listen, we love our mains, but do we, how much do we really know about them? Today, we're going to be going behind the character select screen. We're going to be talking about the lore, the design, the world, and basically the entire universes that these fighting games have been able to create over the many decades they've been around. I said we, because I got some hosts with me. We got Ja, of course, in the building.
What's going on?
And of course, coming back, a winner of the Ambies for Tales of Fists and Fireballs, Aaron David Harris makes his three-peat back on the show. Welcome, sir.
What's up, y'all? How you doing? How you doing? Listen, real quick. First of all, thank you so much for your support. Thank you very much, man. It's kind of the one thing I wanted to bring that I don't have right now is the actual trophy. I don't have a trophy. They
gotta engrave it, right? They gotta engrave it. They gotta gold plate it, put some diamonds on it and all that, and bring it to your house.
You know how when you win the Super Bowl, they don't give you the ring.
Yeah.
But you get the hat. You get the hat. You can wear the hat to see. I don't have the hat, but I tell you what I do have.
Hey, got the envelope. There you go.
And here's your winner.
Nice.
Tales of Fists and Fireballs, baby. Ambies. So
ain't you happy it wasn't Steve Harvey that had to read out the winner on that one?
I was hoping that there wouldn't be any faux pas, but you know what? I feel like what happened was, I think that happened and everybody stepped their game up. People like really read and make sure that the name and the right title is on it before they read it. Ever since then.
Like I said, we saw what happened to him. I still remember those 5 seconds. He was looking at the camera like, oh, damn. Like, yeah, that was in front of a way bigger audience. But yeah, congratulations, sir. Glad to have you back on.
Thank you.
We're really stoked. We saw the acceptance speech. Shout outs to the fam. Shout outs to everybody. It was great to see you take the dub there.
I appreciate it.
Have none but faith. Had none but faith.
Y'all
can check the last episode. We're not lying. We're not lying. We knew he was gonna win.
Y'all knew, and it was like it made me, as soon as I sat down back from doing all the pictures and stuff, I was thinking like, see, we told y'all fighting games, because everybody knows Tales of Fists and Fireballs. It's inspired by the stories that come from fighting games. This validates it. This is the top podcasting storytelling award, and we are validated now, not just me, but we as fighting gamers and the FGC, we are validated because I've been telling people for years that the stories in fighting games are you're not, when you go to the character selecting screen, you're not just picking a chess piece. You're picking a character, and that character has a design, and that design is influenced by a story, and that story does matter. And so I am like pumped that we get to talk about this on Double Tap.
It is really, you know what, and especially in the current state of like fighting games, because I don't know if you've been keeping up with things like SNK's latest game, right, with Fatal Fury, and like the guest characters they have coming in are based on real world people, right? We got Ronaldo that's in, and I forget the DJ's name. Sorry, bro. Like, your name is wild, but his playstyle is even wilder. But there's been a lot of discourse around it because they're like, real people, like it kind of got the gears turning a little bit for me, because I'm like, yeah, that's it. Don't get me wrong, the characters played great. Like, shout outs to Diaphone, who played on the in the Evo showcase that just passed, and showed off Ronaldo and the crazy mix up he has. Looked a little stiff in my opinion, but that's just me. But it really got me thinking, like, yeah, man, like, we really do appreciate a lot about the character. As much as we love to play and compete with them, we really do appreciate who we pick on that character select screen, and it could be for a myriad of reasons, right? So that like brings me down to like really my first question: have you ever just picked a character because of the story or the design, like just like hit you, like just you looked at him, you're like, I'm about whatever you're about? I think like you just like no, you didn't have to have a lot, because it's funny, we're gonna talk about it in a little bit as to why I think arcades played a big part as to why the direction and their limitations as to why we went the way that we take these characters. But what character have you picked in the past that you just looked on the screen, you're like, yep, don't need to know no more, don't know no kit, nothing,
So we talked about this before. You were more of an arcades guy, and I played arcades too, but I was more of a console guy. And when you get the console and you take that game out, the other thing you take out of that case is the instruction manual. And that instruction manual.
Excuse me, what's the instruction manual? We don't got those nowadays. we barely get. I don't even get the good, the break open, the fresh game smell, man. I don't know what. There's nothing. It's empty space. What's an instruction manual? I don't know what you're talking about.
So back in the day, when you buy a game or even rented a game, you would get, the cover was not just a cover art. The cover was also a little booklet, a small little booklet. And we're going to talk about why that booklet ended up being a little bit detrimental to storytelling in fighting game. But you would get a little booklet, and the booklet would give you a little bit about the character, and you, because I want to know how to do the move. I want to know how to do the moves. But it was a combination of, okay, can I do their move? And do I rock with how that character looks? So with Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 2, and I would get that instruction manual, and I would see Balrog, the only black character on the game, who, look like people that, I might see walking down the street in my neighborhood in Detroit. And he had the charge, moves. And so that looked easier at the time to a, 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid than doing a quarter circle punch with Ryu, or quarter circle or down forward, to do a fire, a rising uppercut. So I ended up picking guys that were like that. And I also like bigger guys. I like those bigger, heavier guys because I want to be the biggest, strongest one in the game.
Be intimidating as soon as you load in. Gotcha.
So, but then once you do that, you're like, okay, what is this guy's story? How did you end up with a haircut like that?
Why are you fighting all these other people? This ain't a boxing ring.
Why can't you kick? Why can't you kick?
All right, dog.
Come on, man.
Check out the last.
Kick?
Check out the last. Okay, good point on that one. I got nothing. I ain't got nothing on that one. Check out the last episode as to the rant there. But no, understandable, right? Like why are these characters here? Why are they in these situations, right? Like they're obviously, at the end of the day, it's a game. It's meant to be entertainment for us. But fighting games have had a really cool, have organically, and actually, I think honestly, it's just out of pure necessity, but it's also limitation, that fighting games were, like you said, in our case for me, were more mysterious because we had that limitation. We didn't have a lot of cutscenes, if any. You were lucky you had a I must say JPEG, but just an image of some kind that you could tell. You look at Mortal Kombat 1, right? You had if you let that thing run, if you saw it in the arcade and it had the track mode, you had a couple of images. You got to see Shang Tsung, and you got to see like the splash of Goro, and you're like, oh shit. And then you realize and they give you different characters, and they give you a little blurb right here, like maybe 2 sentences, right? Sub-Zero's an assassin, Liu Kang's Shaolin, Raiden's a god. You're like, what is going on here? And it's supposed to like kind of catch you like that, right? But because we had that limitation where we didn't get a lot, we got maybe that and some voice lines. Maybe. You kind of like interpret that mystery yourself, right? Whoever, experienced that game, played it, whatever, won, lost, got fatality, don't know what that means. They took whatever happened there as experience and they kind of craft like, well, why is Raiden good? Why is he defending Earthrealm? Why are they trying to actually invade or whatever? Why is it Liu Kang? Right? The whys happen. And then next thing you know, like these other aspects that like kind of were built around the arcades help embolden the lore. Like Reptile was an example. I'm saying with MK right now to keep it simple, right? There was a yellow ninja, a blue ninja. They're enemies. I heard there was a green ninja.
Whoa.
I heard he's like their brother or
and
something.
He's the secret character.
Now you got, and guess what? The years later, Reptile being a big component of the story now, have formed those early stories that people were talking about, that the developers listened and they were so tied to it that it became a part of the ethos of that character to this day now, where he is this mysterious ninja that even in MK1, the latest version, Reptile's introduced as this mysterious ninja in the flesh pits. Where did you find him? Yeah, sure, in the pit in the original, but it was like they built on that mystery that the arcades gave us because we didn't have a lot. So it made these characters that were already like bigger than life, bigger movesets, crazy things that you can do, even that much more appealing to watch or to look at.
Andre, I never thought of it like that, but you are so right. Mystery plays a huge role.
Absolutely.
In the who is that factor.
And the why. And the why. Why is Soul Bad Guy the guilty gear? And for those that don't know the lore there, like the guilty gear is Soul Bad Guy. Like I can explain that later, but we'll
in
see.
Street Fighter, who is Shenlong? Remember?
Right. Well, all right. Yeah, that one.
But I mean,
Shenlong that then became Goken, right?
Yeah,
like,
we remember, but that was before. Like today, we're more educated. In the 1990s, it was we were all trying to. It was mythology. Who is he? Oh, I know how to unlock him. I know how to get him. You do this. You got to beat the game 9 times. You got to beat Bison with a perfect 4 times, and then it'll unlock
with kicks only and such. Right?
Yeah. You know, kicks only. So Balrog couldn't do it.
Sorry, dog. Yeah. Well, no, he could kick. It's just he didn't throw a kick. All right, let's be real. All right, like he had the kick button. He just couldn't. He just didn't. Yeah. He skipped leg day. All right.
So if I can kind of, I want to step back a little bit if it's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Because this is like my wheelhouse. I went to school. I got my master's degree in creative writing with a specialization in script writing solely because of my foundational interest in fighting game stories. Like this goes way, way deep for me. And I know we're going to end up talking about like our favorite stories. I wanted to kind of break down like my criteria for how I look at narratives, because it was the way I was taught. That I was taught that all like narratives have what are called 4 great narrative elements. The 4 great narrative elements, and they are great story, great performance, great moment, great experience. Great story is simply getting from point A to B. Performance is about like the efforts of a singular individual, which is harder to do in fighting games. But like if you compare it to movies, Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight, great performance. In a movie that some might argue the story isn't as great as Heath Ledger's performance. A moment. In fighting games, we get all kinds of great moments in the stories. I'm not just talking about Evo moments. I'm talking about story moments. Like Ryu leaving that scar on Sagat, that indelible scar. Or in Tekken, Heihachi throwing his son into a volcano. That's a moment.
His son, his stepson, maybe his other daughter. The family tradition. But like everybody got to do it.
But when you think about like the machinists throw each other into a, but I'm sure kids got thrown off of ledges and thrown off swings. But when you think about visually the moment, you think about a volcano. You want to talk about hot and ready? There's your hot and ready. There's your hot and ready. And then great experience. Experience is basically just like when you get off a roller coaster ride, how you feel. When you get off the ride, how do you feel about it? Now, you don't necessarily, those 4 things, you don't have to have all 4 of them to be good. In fact, what happens a lot of times is you end up with one of them and it'll either kind of trick you or you'll be satisfied enough to be able to say this was a great story. Even though it may not have been a great story, it might have just been a good story with a lot of good moments. Or it might have been a great performance. I guess I gave the Heath Ledger example. My opinion about Dark Knight is that it's a really great performance in a pretty good movie. An experience. It might be a horrible story, a horrible performance, horrible moment, but you still come out of it as a great experience. It might something you might be willing to laugh at or just
Sharknado.
Exactly.
Like
exactly. So in my mind, like Mortal Kombat is a great story and a great experience. It doesn't have the same great moments that Tekken and Street Fighter had, but Street Fighter doesn't have the through line of story the way that Mortal Kombat does. That's why it's easy. That's my, that's my opinion.
No, I can completely dig that because MK's has a great story and it's been told like 3 freaking times already, and it keeps getting reset. And those moments, like I put an example, like Jax getting his metal arms has changed like 2-3 times that I'm like, okay, like how are you in this animated show? He gets yanked by Goro. In this one, Ermax blows him up. In the live action movie, he just did it. I think in even the original video game, he just did it too. But I'm like, all right, like we know the moment's coming, but it's not like that as impactful, right? Like it doesn't really hit. But the story of like how we get there and then what happens afterwards, yes, like get it through and through, absolutely. So yeah, track it versus Street Fighter, where it's like it's kind of you're kind of get a little lost in the sauce there, because it's actually kind of hard to pin Street Fighter down, because all the characters are, especially the core characters, there's so many of them. It's like you're trying to put them all in one movie. It's like, how are you going to do that? It's like the Expendables thing, right? Like the joke about the movie of the Expendables, you have all these action stars, but like, how do you give them all their time, right? Like, it's kind of difficult to do that. Yeah.
So like I feel like Tekken to me is the gold standard for, I'm gonna tell you guys this, that in most storytelling, great storytelling, the cheat code is always family drama. That's if you ever
just
wanted
look at Star Wars.
Yeah,
Star Wars is not but a big family issue that everyone else is getting dragged into.
The cheat code. Tyler Perry built his entire empire off of black family drama. Shakespeare built a lot of his empire off of family drama. Tekken, the nucleus of that story is the Mishima Zaibatsu. In pro wrestling, the Samoan dynasty, it's like the cheat family is a cheat code that you can kind of use to build really great stories. No other fighting game story has done that better to me than Tekken. And I don't know if we're gonna get into favorite characters or favorite story characters, but one of my favorite characters in the Tekken story, he's related to the Mishima, but he's not a Mishima. It's Lee Chao Lang. It's Lee Chao Lang.
Okay.
Who was adopted by Heihachi for the sole purpose, not be out of the goodness of his heart, it was for the sole purpose of getting on Kazuya's. Like, how badly do you gotta hate your son to go buy another son off the street just to piss him off? Like, how that is like some.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
That's but like Lee is a character that kind of buys into it, and what's so funny is like his fighting style is never like if you play with Lee in Tekken. He doesn't play like a Mishima. Nope. Even though he's been trained like it, even though he's got indoctrinated in the same cruelties of the Mishimas, he never. Now that might be because he always was told maybe he was never gonna be one. Maybe he was told that, or maybe it was because no matter how much Heihachi tried to break him, that he never let go of the thing that made him who he was. And I like that about his character, like that it reflects his fighting style reflects in his character motivations or his character story arc, that you can see the story of who he is and who he became in the way that he fights or the way he doesn't fight. He's not doing the electric fist punches or the God punches. He's not trying to do none of that. And he's still a very effective character to play with in the game, but also he's a unique character in the game that there really isn't another character that plays like him, you know? So he's one of my favorite Tekken characters, not just to play with, but as a story. I don't know if you guys have any favorite.
For me, I mean, there's so many great characters. You instantly think of your main. So like for me, I've played Viking like forever in Guilty Gear, and it's funny because she's actually a really good example of what they took as the original idea and actually and her story of redemption. And actually, funny enough, it applies all the way to, I haven't checked it out yet. No spoilers. It won't be happening here on this show for Dual Rulers, because she's also a component to that there. Now that's actually out now and the episodes are going strong. But since her initial introduction in Guilty Gear from the very first one as a secret boss, like she wasn't even a character you could play. You could only fight her. She was like the Akuma of the game. Where there's like, you know, in the Guilty Gear lore, it's gears are weapons, destroyed the world, yada, yada, yada. Her family was killed. She swore revenge. And that was like it, right? It's very simple, straightforward story. But the thing that was really cool about it is that her design was built to just be like, she's just vengeance. So she doesn't take care of herself. Her hair is always a mess. She doesn't look healthy. She doesn't look like she eats well, but she's all about making sure she's got a sword with her to cut down whoever she needs to cut down, right? And she's angry. Her voice lines were always angry.
Performance.
Like
Great
performance. So you got
Great
performance there.
yep.
So like it was always angry. Hence the meme, angry Japanese woman in Guilty Gear. It's just like they knew who you're talking about. Like, oh, it's Mike, because she just is always mad. But as the game, you know, as the series continued, right, and as they continued the story with the sequels, with Accent Core, Double X, Plus R, Rev 2, and now Strive, they've changed her design to be like, look, she's taking care of herself. Her hair is actually no longer a mess. She's built a little art. She's clearly eating, and she actually isn't yelling as much. And they even tied it now to the story in the game that we have the privilege to have now, because nowadays we have full blown movies, cinematics and movies basically. Now if you take out the gameplay, you know, you can go on YouTube right now and say, hey, Guilty Gear Other Side story, here's your 3-hour movie right there that, you know, they put
that's what I did with Mortal
you.
Kombat 9.
MK, perfect. Another example, right? MK9, you know, all that stuff. So Biking was cool because it's like, it's very straightforward. But they took that and took the opportunity to actually grow the character as the games continue, which I really enjoyed that developers have done that over the years, because they come to realize like that, you know, that's what we relate to are the characters and their stories, right?
Yep.
So it's very important that they respect the lore
as
much as possible.
Like, and you touching on something with like with women characters, I know we get that, and it's not just from Dead or Alive's problem. It was long before. You look at how Cammy is dressed in her original designs in Street Fighter. The idea
we laugh at it now. She wears a coat but never pants. It's like, bro, there's nothing strategic about this, but we know what you're doing, Captain.
Yeah, we know what you're doing, and it's like, but there are some really good women-driven. One of my favorite, one of my all-time favorite in terms of story and gameplay.
Let me see how cultured you are. Let's listen.
King. Not King from Tekken.
King from SNK.
The King of Fighter. King from Art of Fighting, the original
Art of Fighting. Thank you. Yeah, okay. King, respectable.
Yes, King. It's so someone who was trained in Muay Thai in Thailand, who could not compete in Muay Thai tournaments because she was a woman, then cut her hair, dressed like a woman, worked as a bouncer to legitimize herself so that she can go to these tournaments.
Yep.
And then later on is sort of outed as a woman, but by the time she's outed as a woman, they have no choice but to respect her for her fighting skills.
Yeah, she did the deed at that point.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It was very Mulan-esque, you know?
Oh yeah,
very much
I can see that.
Mulan-esque in a way.
Yeah, I can see that.
And and then from there she kept her design. Like, it's still feminized, but she kept she kept the pants, she kept the vest.
The tomboyish kind of look going. Yeah.
You don't see characters like her.
You know who's funny enough, like gets looked at as not being deep, and including myself. It took me a while to realize this, but Isabella Valentine, aka Ivy from Soul Calibur.
From Soul Calibur.
Ivy, who you would not think, right? You go, Dre, how are you gonna make this work? Trust the process. I got you, baby. So English woman that was her true father is Cervantes, right? Is the pirate, right? Everyone knows that. The undead pirate that possesses the soul edge, all that good stuff. Born, she's like from English nobility, but she was born into English nobility after like he gave her up and such, right? Like adopted, excuse me. Uses alchemy to keep herself young. You know, that's why her sword's also the way it acts, right? They kind of bridge that together. But because she comes from like an English nobility, like a family after being adopted, and then hates what her father is, and you know her whole purpose is to destroy the soul edge. So she's actually like a good guy. Like you look at Ivy, you think bad, you know, like that's the bad guy's girlfriend or something. But literally the reason that she dresses the way that she dresses to help to kind of rebel against that idea that she is like going to be what is it? She's locked by the legacy of her father to be like what she is supposed to be. So she kind of rebels against that because she's also was brought up English like nobility and stuff like that, right? So like I thought off the rip for the longest time, I was like, this character, there's no depth whatsoever here. But surprisingly, no, she is incredibly intelligent. She is incredibly well-spoken and very like she's trained traditionally in this way, but she rebels. Her entire character is about rebellion, but for the right reasons, like for good, not even like rebellion to be evil. I was like, damn. I got caught. For the longest time, I thought Bandai Namco was like, yo, we just need to put somebody out there to compete with Cammy.
Yeah.
Not even the case. Not even close. There's actually so much depth and lore in there that you wouldn't think twice, unless you played, a Tales of the Souls or something like that.
Yeah. Jai, you about to say something?
No, I was just gonna say, like, no, somebody could have totally gotten the instructions like, we need a half-naked woman in this game. And then some writer was like, okay, we'll get it in there and we'll make it make sense. Like that, I mean, that happens.
Absolutely. But it didn't have to, is the deal, right? They didn't have to. But when looking at it, I'm like, okay, it's kind of full circle. Because they could have just gone straight as like, yeah, we need a dominatrix looking ass character with a someone said, yo, whip sword. Got it. Yeah. Let me just finish eating my lunch and I'll whip it up after this.
Well, I
right? Like,
you have this thing where, the writers or the people who were writing the game in the first place, like they care about the story they're writing. So if they get some instructions from, up top that's like, we need X, Y, and Z 1, 2, and 3 into the game, they're not just going to want to throw it in haphazardly with all the rest of their hard work. For them, like they have to make it make sense. So no, I get that.
So you touched on something else too, that something that really makes a really good character is how misunderstood that character might be. Like, there are the most interesting characters to me are the ones who are truly committed to what they believe, even if what they believe is completely like insane. Like the idea that Dan Hibiki walks around believing in Street Fighter that he's actually one of the strongest people in all of fighting. Like, how, like, if they ever did a really great adaptation of Street Fighter and really looked at Dan's character, the tragedy of his dad, the tragedy that, his dad actually was a great fighter who pushed Sagat so hard that he lost an eye. We didn't know, how he had lost that eye. Yeah. We never knew how he lost his eye. Now we know. And here's this guy who should be in the position to follow in his dad's footsteps, and for whatever reason it just doesn't hit. But he won't allow himself, Dan won't allow himself to ever believe that he's weaker, even though there's every evidence to the contrary that he is not the strongest character. He's the weakest guy, but he believes it so hard that like it's a compelling character.
So the best part, the cool thing about that is that, like, I love it when, like, developers tend to kind of layer it with like some little pieces in there that kind of make you think twice. Because, like, story-wise, Dan gets his ass whooped wherever he goes. Like, whether it's promotional art, we've seen the guy hold his daddy when way back in the day. If you don't know the lore, it's about between not real beef, but it was like SNK Capcom rivalry thing. Because Dan's dad was actually modeled after what's my man from Art of Fighting? Rio. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Rio. It was
Takuma
with the he's got the long hair with the little ponytail. It was homie, but I just can't remember his name. Was it Roberto? It was Roberto, based off of him, and that's what caused this whole Dan thing. But Dan gets his ass whooped everywhere, videos, movies, artwork, but the games, at times, he's been shown to be having, for some reason, the most potent of abilities when when you would not think so. Like in Street Fighter 4, his Ultra 2, which is like the big fireball he does, which is once again like the Roberto, like Rio kind of like homage thing, because he's supposed to be a parody of them, goes through everything. Like beats Ryu's, beats Goken's, beats Akuma's fireballs. Like when there's you might go like, oh, it's just values, it doesn't matter. It's like, no, but like there's a reason why they did that. If they wanted to lean on the side that it's worthless, it would get beat. But not only in Street Fighter 4, but also in Street Fighter 5, where he had a random red fireball he would throw out that would cause a crumple state that then was like no fireball in this entire game. Not Ryu, who is supposed to be the master of this, or Akuma, like, can do that. But they keep like adding these little snippets of Dan having this maybe great potential that he believes he has, but they're reflecting it through the gameplay. I think is like so fucking dope.
Yeah, it's again, he's one of those characters, like you said about Ivy, surface level. People think he's one thing and he's misunderstood, but But it's almost like if you're into that anime Naruto. I was really into Naruto when that was a thing. And it was a very similar vibe where what invested you in Naruto is that nobody really believed that he was actually going to be able. Who is this guy saying he's going to be Hokage and run everything when he can't even do a shadow clone right? And you know what I mean? And then he slowly rises to the occasion. Because we haven't really seen a great Street Fighter adaptation that brings everybody involved. We haven't really seen Dan reach that. But boy, would it look great. Would it look great if we could get there. The other thing I was going to bring to that, since you were bringing it, we talked about dads, is like as a dad now, I'm a father of 5. I'm often thinking about like fathers in fighting games. You know what I mean? Like there's Heihachi, which we kind of touched on, worst
dad ever. I think in all fighting games.
Well, I don't know, because like if you count Shao Kahn as a dad,
he's pretty bad too. He's up there.
You got Geese. You know,
yeah, he's bad.
You know,
man, there are some bad dads.
There's some bad dads in there,
games, bro.
But then there's some good ones. You just don't see them being good. The one that my favorite fighting game dad, I brought him up just moments ago when I was trying to help you guess the other character, was Takuma Sakazaki, the father from Art of Fighting and King of Fighters, the father of Ryo and Yuri Sakazaki, and they have that their own specific fighting style, which is supposed to be a mimic of what Ken and Ryu do in Street Fighter,
like Shotos and stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Like his story that because his family was threatened by Geese, he turned himself into another character, this Mr. Karate character, to hide the shame that he was doing horrible things, basically a hitman for Geese in Southtown, and he was hiding it from his kids because he was trying to protect his kids from the very organization that he is now working for. I find that to be, would I do that as a dad? You know what I mean? If my kids were threatened, would I go to, like, I'm there. I'm another dad character that I find fascinating is Bass from Dead or Alive.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Bass from Dead or Alive
I keep forgetting Bass is just like in these games. It's been a minute.
The relationship that he has with, that playful with Tina.
I was like, Tina or Tiffany? I'm like, I can't remember.
It's Tina. And I only have one daughter. She's my oldest daughter, and she is she's got her first dance coming up soon, and I'm like so nervous about like what is gonna happen. I'm getting old. I wish I could do that Bad Boy scene with my, when they were intimidating the guy who was asking the old dude out. I wish I could do that, but I would probably end up going to jail or something. But I think about that, and I think about it because I'm a huge fighting game fan, and I think about Bass and his playfulness and the rebellion that Tina has, and I'm like, I get that a little bit more now, between. And so so when I play Dead or Alive again, I kind of rock with Bass, because I'm like, I feel you, dog. I understand. Like you just a guy, however affable and silly and whatever. You just want what's best for your daughter. You want to protect her. You want her to be safe. You want her to fight safe, whatever, So I just think fathers in fighting games is a thing. We talk about rivalries in fighting games a lot. Brother and sisters and a lot. We don't talk that much about like mothers and fathers in fighting games as much. And I think we could, that's why I want to bring that. I don't know if what you guys thought about that.
Because everybody be fighting, man. That's why. Jun and Kazuya can't make shit up.
Yeah.
They've been fighting for like 30 years. This is the worst divorce I've ever seen in my life. And I don't even think they were actually married. But no, like it kind of goes back to, like you said, like it's like that family drama, right? Because even if you talk Geese and like his involvement, right? He with Terry's dad, right? I believe Terry's dad gets, if I remember the lore, Terry's dad gets murdered by Geese, right? And then there's the drama that comes with that, right? So once again, like the vengeance story, but then you have him that he also now is like the kind of the real maternal father figure for Rock.
He's the Piccolo.
And Rock's his Gohan, right?
Yeah.
Well, Geese is the no good father.
Yep.
But what I really wanted to also double back on is just like the world building that the fighting games do create. Like these characters are a piece of it, but they live in these worlds that have like their own rules and their stories and all. And what's really fun for me is when crossovers happen. Your Akuma into Tekken was a earth-shattering situation. Like we've had Street Fighter X Tekken, right? Like that was not new. That had already happened. We're like, okay, cool. But that was a crossover game. We're like,
it wasn't a crossover.
So we leave it as like this is like it's like a multiverse thing. It's like okay, it's not canon. But once we saw Akuma crossover into Tekken with lore implications, like and that's when it blew my mind away. And then there's other instances like, hey, like Sub-Zero and Injustice, right?
Yeah.
Like it's technically kind of canon, kind of multiverse is kind of canon with what that game is. But
I would count that. I would count that as the way that comics are and all of the different variants and multiverses that happen. I definitely would count that. It's just whatever Earth 7600 or whatever you want to call it. Add
another decimal to it.
Yeah, just add whatever. Now, going back to your Akuma, like the reason why that was earth shattering, it wasn't just because he was involved. He was involved in the most mysterious part of the Mishima story. Like the main story, and then the story of the one character in the Mishima family that we have not even considered talking about. And we talk about the women character. So I was going to come at you with two things with that. Number one, how did you actually feel about the execution of that story? And then secondly, you were talking about world building. I want to know from you, what fighting game has the best? What fighting game franchise to you has the best world building story or world building concepts?
I mean, so to go off the first one, I mean, Akuma being involved with it's Kazumi's who we're talking about. That's Heihachi's wife,
my bad.
And that's like kind of like where the whole like demon lineage thing kind of happens. Devil Gene. Sorry.
Yeah, Devil Gene.
That happens, and then Akuma was then like entrusted by her to take care of Heihachi or to fight Heihachi, and it's like it was more of like for me it's like because there's all this lore of like because Akuma was already kind of still to a degree a mysterious character. Everything about him is mystery. Mysteriously showed up in certain instances in arcades. So some people were saying it's real, some people are saying it's a lie. Finally get a confirmation. But by the time he makes it to console, the guy doesn't even have an actual portrait. It's just black on the character select tree when you pick him. Like there's nothing to, and then we still have like back and forths as to like, okay, what is he? Was he supposed to be related to Ryu in some way? Him and Goken, and they like explored it. And then you're taking this mysterious character that is, all he knows is just ass whooping. Just handing them out. He's got to stand for it. He's got a franchise. He comes to whoever and just lays them out. That's literally what he's about. But then you take a character like that, and then you put him into something like Tekken, and it's crazy lore, and it's family drama. And now taking that unknown component and taking it to Kazumi, which at that point, we didn't know existed, and being such a critical part to the Tekken story, like that just solidified like canon between not just two series, but two very long running franchises that have been like, back and forth for decades at that point, which like further makes like fighting game crossovers like an insane potential when it comes to like the lore implications that you have. Like, some might be a little bit like out there, like your Marvel vs. Capcom. I don't know if like Spider-Man and Morgan are ever going to be a thing, but to that note, Marvel Rivals paid an homage to fighting games recently in their latest patch, where now we have Orange Venom, which that just comes from fighting game lore as an unlockable secret character.
MVC1,
which just
right?
like that blew my mind. Yeah, MVC1 exactly blew my freaking mind. But yeah, crossovers like I think there's so much of a wild card, but like look what we get out of it though. Like at the end of the day, like it helps. Like now it brings up even more of the questions. Like, oh, like how strong is Akuma versus Heihachi, or really how strong is Heihachi if he could double down against Akuma, right? When everybody else in the Street Fighter roster seems to just get bodied by him, like 7 ways from Sunday kind of deal. But yeah, like, and to answer your second question, which is like kind of like a favorite. What is it? World building.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go with my latest because I tend to jump around because like fighting games, there's so many different flavors, and you can check them all out. I've actually been checking out Skullgirls lately. Only because the stories, because I went, man, I give this game so many props because it looks amazing. It's it's got a great well, the game itself has a great history. Company, not so much. That's a story for another time. But the game itself was great. The presentation, in terms of what it does, animation wise, design wise, that rivals like some of our favorites, like Darkstalkers. Previously was like held to the highest standards in terms of like 2D animation, 2D sprites and such in a fighting game. But then I started looking at the lore.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, like this world is like so nutty, but it's also serious at the same time, because like they really interconnected a lot. It's a very old school way of like interconnecting characters in different situations, but there is an overarching story. Like some of it might not be as canon because you get like character endings, like the old school arcade endings, right? Like which one is canon, which one really did happen, right? Like, but it happens throughout like this entirety of the story. That like it really drew me in, so I was very like I've been getting more into it because it's like, man, it gets really dark.
It needs to get.
Like,
I think Skullgirls would do great as an anime. It would do great as a Netflix.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Property.
Just some of the stories alone, like from beginning to end, when you realize the lore of a certain character, like Peacock is a perfect example. Very tragic, and yet is presented as this joke character, which actually is a good transition to your next point that I'm pretty sure you're gonna bring up is joke characters, right?
Well, I want to stay here with your world building and lore because I want to throw on mine as well. But to your point about Skullgirls, like it's very similar to Soul Calibur, where everybody's chasing the one item that's going to, and that's a really effective way to bring on, like you got 8 characters, 12 characters, 20 characters. It's a really great way to connect them all without saying tournament. Or we're in this tournament in these brackets. It's a really great way to do that, where there's this one item that everybody's after. And then the tournaments, the fight happens naturally, and on a more primal
because they cross paths. Because they're all trying to hit that finish line, right?
Yeah.
But eventually they catch up.
Exactly. So in terms of world building for me, my favorite are, one of them is really underrated, and it's Bloody Roar. Are you familiar with Bloody Roar?
First of all, come on, dog. Am I familiar with Bloody Roar? But I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't know a lot of the Bloody Roar lore because it was like in that weird time, space. PlayStation time, and it's like 3D fighting games or like kind of like back and forth. The Tekken obviously was kind of overshadowing it, but it was unique enough though. I remember playing it, so I'm gonna give me that one. I'm at least play it, but I don't know why people would transform it. I just saw Animorphs, dog. I thought it was Animorphs. Can't blame.
I would, without getting into too much of it, then I would just advise listeners. There are YouTube videos and stuff like that all over the place for stuff like Bloody Roar. Check it out. It's really unique. The other one that is like my number one, if I had a Mount Rushmore stories, like period, that had the best world building, it is singularly the King of Fighters Orochi Saga. That is my all-time number one favorite fighting game story, favorite fighting game world building, favorite concept. And the reason why, and this goes back to what I was talking about with representation. The Orochi Saga, it is a distinctly Japanese story. It doesn't pull from any other kinds of, Mortal Kombat pulls from 80s martial arts films at the start of it. That's where it really came from.
In the beginning, it eventually evolved.
Yeah, Street Fighter, again, it kind of went to that, which martial art is the best? Which fighting style was the best? The King of Fighters, and specifically the Orochi Saga, it comes from Japanese mythology that you could actually go and study at a school or at a college somewhere. The Yamato no Orochi is an actual, thing that you would learn about in Japanese mythological folklore. And to take those things and to build, so we talk about Ken and Ryu's rivalry, to build Kyo and Ioi's rivalry, it's not just them trying to figure out who's the best. This is a family, 2 families warring ancient drama from hundreds of years. And they're just the avatars for that 100-year drama. It's very, I would play that game solely to just be in the world of that experience. And then you get like the Dark Hado version of that in King of Fighters. The Dark Hado comes from the actual lore. I'm calling it Dark Hado. It's actually the Orochi, the Riot Blood. But that's their version of the Dark Hado. That comes from something that like ancient and for lack of a better term, real. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there. And then we were going to talk about like you brought up joke characters.
Yeah, because you was gonna bring up about the idea of like what makes
a joke character. Because is it just that they're like they're just funny? Or are they meant to be taken serious in the game? Is it that their moves are effective but make you laugh? Is it the design of it? Because if it's design, Paul's hair is like Paul Phoenix's hair is like the biggest joke of them all. Hey,
could have said that with Guile too. I'm still trying to find out what Japanese guy met like two Americans that had hairstyles like that. Ever since, like, I'm like, what were we doing in the 80s, like / into the 90s? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I have not seen pictures of this, but apparently it existed.
Yeah,
it's always the Americans,
right?
So for joke characters, it's kind of like a combination for me. Like, cause I really had to when you first brought it up, I was like, what does dictate a joke character? Like, you think a joke character, you think characters that are parodies of something, right? Like we talked about Dan earlier, right? Dan's like easy pick. It'd be like a joke character. It's gonna kill me not to know the names off the top of my head, but the two characters that are from SNK, they're in CVS too. It's like one's like a miniature like Freddy Krueger looking kind of character with the hand.
He's one of Kim Kaplan's students. Is that what it was? One of Kim Kaplan's students. Yes.
But it's very unorthodox, right? So like you said, like there's different components to it. For me, it's like if their story, if their actions in that world, in that time, whether it's that game, that period, in whatever the timeline is there, doesn't actually didn't mean anything technically, like to like the overarching story of like there's no development at the end. They came in because they wanted to just get money and they don't care that they fought this evil person or that they saved the world. They were here. Like, I feel like though when their story doesn't really have any implications in the overarching arc, I guess you could say that, then I consider that kind of a joke character because there was no, like, if you took them away, would it really affect anything? Not really. But a combination of that to a degree, and then also like, yeah, bro, if they're just ass in the game, like I'm not here to be bad because my character's bad. That's a joke.
Yeah, I hear you. I was just thinking like a character like, I brought this up before, a character like Paul Phoenix who misses the finals because he was stuck in traffic. Like if that is like I could see Chris Pratt playing that character in a live action Tekken, like a serious one. If Chris Pratt, I could see that happening.
I can see
it. And yet,
I can see it.
We do take him seriously as a fighter because he got to the finals.
Mega Fist. I take that Mega Fist serious is what I do.
Okay,
I take that Dynamite Fist of his. That's what I'll take.
He's got a good moveset though. Phoenix has a good moveset, man. He's got good.
We all know what we're pressing.
Okay. All right, but so like a character like him, a character like Joe Higashi, who's got a double projectile with those tornadoes, but he's also got a taunt where he's mooning you.
Yeah,
he's
not taking the situation serious.
There was a thread on Instagram by another Instagrammer, I'm not gonna say his name, who put Adon from Street Fighter Alpha 3 against Joe, and I was on like,
hold on. On 3, we're gonna say who would win. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Joe.
Adon. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean Joe wins? Adon Sagat's like,
he ain't
like
Sagat,
closest rival. He ain't Sagat. First of all, you put Sagat in this, Sagat's like wiping everybody.
He's wiping every
it's over.
Yeah, he's not.
We know
Sagat. He is not Sagat.
We understand that. But really, Joe beating Adon?
In terms of fighting experience, Joe has more experience fighting people like Adon than Adon has fighting people like Joe. Number one.
Adon's fighting everything else though.
And then the other thing is Adon is susceptible to the crash out. He is susceptible to, you think he's gonna stand for Joe mooning him and moving around him and mooning him? He's gonna have him so off his game. He's gonna have him so pissed, so out of sorts that is not going to be like whatever power that that Adon would bring to the table would be completely wiped out the first time Joe sticks his tongue out at him and calls him a loser and calls him and starts teasing him like, your master lost to a short white belt karate guy? Really? That's who your guy lost to? Really? Man, I was whooping people up like that when I was 10 years. Look at all these Muay Thai championships. How many you got? Oh, your master got them, but you don't have them. Like,
I was gonna say, I thought he. I know we're going deep in lore here, and we're gonna get out of it in a second. We're getting in that pool, but I'm pretty sure Don has a bunch of championships, and the only person he has lost to was Sagat. But once again, Sagat's like a wild card.
Yeah, you can't. You know, Sagat is different. Sagat is
that is the king.
That is the Jordan of all Jordans when it comes to Muay Thai. So I get it. I understand why people would think that. But just because, if you watch football, just because you were one of Bill Belichick's assistants, don't mean you gonna go run another team and be Bill Belichick. Okay, that's how I feel about it.
Point taken.
Anyway.
On that.
So, but again, Joe is a joke character in a lot of ways. They will put him up against in CBS 2. Him and Dan had specific taunts against each other to represent. Hey, these are two characters that like to have fun, don't take it seriously. But we look at Joe differently than we look at Dan because of the effectiveness of how that character can be played. So I just thought it was an interesting idea to look at all the other characters and just kind of, what is a joke, what is a serious, and I thought that might be interesting. The other thing, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say the other thing I was gonna ask was, who are some of your favorite boss characters?
See, that's tricky because once again, it kind of goes back to the arcades because boss characters were just supposed to be these mean, evil-looking guys that are OP. The computer AI reads your inputs and they beat you up and you get mad and it makes you want to stick another quarter in so that way they make some money, right? Like they don't really have to make it too complex here. But as the games continued on and the audience kind of not say matured, but the want for depth grew, and you wanted to make these characters just like, it's boring when there's like, I'm just evil to be evil. That's boring. There's nothing to it, right? But not to say all characters are like that. Not to say all characters are like that, but for me, if I were to pick an actual boss character that I like, ironically enough, I would say Akuma, because there isn't, like, he's not actually doing it to be a bad guy. Like I said, all he knows in his head is to throw hands, and he wants to be the best at it.
Yeah.
And if you come to him, know that there will be there will be an answer to knocking on that door. That answer is usually an ass whooping. So, like, really, he's kind of like this neutral, if you want to call it in any chart, he's like neutral evil, I guess.
Yeah, well,
because he's beaten Gil. He's beaten people that have tried to destroy the world. Like, canonically, he's been the one to actually help defend. He's destroyed a comet that was coming to Earth. Like, that's like canonical as well. I can't remember which game, but I remember seeing the cutscene for it. Like, he's just about that. So, like, I would say him because there's a history, there's a reason why he's doing it. And that's where the death comes in. Is like, why have you chosen to go this far? Like, yes, you killed your master. Yes, Gouken, if it's fight is your antagonist, but Gouken represents this. But like, the real, it's like the rules of the street. You come to fight, you come to this dojo, best is about blood at the end of the day. Yeah. He's just taking it to the extreme. Yeah. So I feel like that's interesting.
And that's a good one.
He's not just being evil.
That's a really good one, because there was and I don't know, the example that I always give for Akuma is, if you're climbing a mountain, if you just happen to go mountain climbing and Akuma hit one of his Metsu Hadoukens and destroys the mountain and kills you. Now, he didn't do that. He didn't do that on purpose. He didn't kill you on purpose. But he ain't gonna feel bad about it. He's not gonna go.
Why were you climbing this mountain?
He's just gonna behave.
This is clearly, you ain't see the sign out there. Metsuts in the area.
That's just what happens. Sometimes you step on ants. Sometimes you step on ass.
Exactly. And it's like that's what I mean. Like in the world of like that of what Street Fighter is, it is about fighting. It's about being able to best your opponent. It's like he's just taking it to fucking 11.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, yeah. Like somebody is going to, and it's like he's not going out and like doing it to innocent people. No, he's like, what is it? If you remember the Alpha, I think it's like the Alpha OVA. Sakura was like in that, and she stepped up to him, and Ryu was like, "Don't," and she got smacked up, and it's like, and I didn't even feel bad. I was like,
well,
that's what you get.
What
like,
happens. It's just,
like this is what happens when you step into this. So like, I can't blame him for that. I can't blame that. So, but it's cool because people look at him and they think, "Oh, he's demon. He looks terrible. He must be a bad guy." It's like that's not necessarily true.
And that
like,
is unique that people you associate him with demonic, but he's actually not a demon. You know, he's not a demon in that sense.
He looks, his face might look different, but that's a whole other reason.
Now, having said,
I would say Akuma for me.
Now, having said that, and you make those are really great points. But having said that, I think once again, you and me are on opposite ends of like what makes a good villain for me. So I have been so sick of this trend, and it happens in all media, all gaming. This trend where we have to understand why the bad guy is so brutal, or why they're doing. There's a trend that's just like it started with the Breaking Bad story, and it you can even look at Thanos like you understand. I understand. Yeah. He's doing it the wrong way.
The saying, like a villain is the hero of the story. And like that's the point. Like a villain is just a person that had made decisions, but in their minds it was the right decisions, right? They were put in situations, they made the choice. But whether or not everyone else will align for that is another thing.
And we have a lot of those. And I want what I want in a villain is I just don't give it. I don't care. Like I am evil and I like it. And I feel like a lot of fighting games still stay true to that. Where other
guys like Shao Kahn, Kahn's a perfect example.
Other video games have kind of ventured into what cinema does, which is, oh man, he's so messed up and he did, but I understand why he did. And we're saying that too much these days. So the best villain for me, the villain that I rock with, again, comes from the SNK world. It's Rugal Bernstein. Rugal is, you talk about a guy who not only beats you, but then dips your body in oil so that you can become his trophy.
Become a statue. Yeah, classic.
Like, do you know how, like,
how narcissistic, how just like inhumane, like it's just like
there's no I understand why you do that. There's no
it's you gotta go.
Yeah.
That's it.
There's nothing in his childhood. You go look at the lore of Rugal. There's nothing in his childhood. There's nothing in that happened to him. His girl didn't get taken from him by the hero. He's not Syndrome where he was looking up to his hero and his hero rejected him. He's just a dude. There's some people in life, and that's what I mean about reality. There's just some people in life who just are I'm not gonna cuss because my mom watches this show. She likes me. The word rhymes.
Sorry, Mama Harris. I cursed earlier.
Yeah, my bad. The word rhymes with glass bowl. There's some people who are just glass bowls, and there's nothing that you can explain away. There's no excuse. No breakdown of psychology. There's no redemption. There's just certain people who just, and it's not even that they just like chaos. They just enjoy, they get off on just being bad. A guy who wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth, goes downstairs to get ready for the day, and sees the bodies of his oil and casted enemies and walks by them, some of them who might still be a little bit alive and can actually see and hear him coming down the step.
Ask him for breakfast. Yo, you want some? No?
Right.
Okay.
that is such an
I get
evil,
you.
And he's such an
just
evil
straightforward.
Character.
You just want you're on the side, like you just want something to direct.
Because then you can
damage that you're about to put out.
The damage then wouldn't be, oh, I understand him. It would be, I understand Harridan, who had his wife and daughter killed in front of him, and now Rugal is his sworn enemy. Gonit, the one of the 4 heavenly kings in Orochi. That's why Rugal's eye is missing, because that was the one dude that he couldn't take down, and that drives him like, oh, I want to get stronger and be the baddest dude on the planet. I like that more than I like a relatable, huggable villain. You know what I mean? That's just me, and I'm glad I got it. Yeah, go ahead.
I get it because it could feel like sometimes you just don't need depth. You don't want to think. You just like, hey, good, bad, let's do it, right? Like, I'm here to be. At the end of the day, when we're playing fighting games, we're here to be entertained, right? Like sometimes it ain't about like the why. It's just the want to.
I was gonna say, I know you were gonna talk about like other media like that it might have led into. There's a really horrible Street Fighter animated series that was on the USA Network. Do you remember it?
You talking about the American one, or you talking about Street Fighter? Yeah, that was terrible. But nobody talks about that.
Well, there was
we meme about it.
Yeah,
we meme about it.
There's a line in there that I really like. I vibe with from Bison, which is at one point Chun-Li confronts Bison about killing her father, and then
I killed my daddy.
Right. He was like, so Chun-Li was like, you killed my dad, and then Cammy was like, man, come on, man, you killed my dad. He's like, what is the problem? I killed my dad. You don't hear me whining about it. Like
that shit was the most
a bar, man.
That was I think he even said it like, women always complain about something. I killed my own father. Like he said that too. I was like, damn, like
that's what I want.
USA.
I want that. I want the guy
delivery.
who just is just bad just because they was bad, and then it creates the interesting. Chun-Li story now becomes interesting.
Yeah,
Cammy's story becomes interesting. I don't need the villains all the time to be the ones who are the most interesting person in the room. You know, the antagonist exists to uplift the protagonist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
it's a challenge.
Yeah. Shang Tsung rather in the movie. He is a great villain without having
we did. That's a damn good point, because I never cared about why Shang Tsung does what
he was taking souls.
In the decades that he's been stealing souls and all, like I actually don't care. I just know, like, when I see it's on site with him at all point. It has to be like canonically. It's like we can't be cool like ever. Yeah. Like Liu Kang will beat your ass in every timeline. As soon as he feels that you out of line, you out of pocket, like we coming back for you, right? Like,
and again, it uplifts.
That is a very good point.
It uplifts Liu Kang's story and the 3 challenges he had to face before he beat Shang at the end of that film. It uplifts, you know, who else's souls that he has taken and affected. You know, whoever soul you took had a family. You know, although I'm sure that there are some timelines where Shang Tsung took somebody's soul and the person's like, hey, good, keep it. I never liked him anyway. I never liked him anyway.
Probably.
Hey,
you did us a favor.
You did us a favor. Keep that. Go ahead.
You want his cousin too?
Yeah.
Hold
up. some wife who was tired of their husband, like, oh. Hey.
But yeah, absolutely. Like so that was in other mediums, like that's the beauty part about like fighting game lore, is like it's being built from just those small snippets of voice lines, very crudely done. Not crudely, I don't want to knock them, like, you know, it's just at the time, you know, not much, you know, cut scenes that maybe we might have had or single images. Now growing entire series, you know, we just talked about Dual Rulers is out for Guilty Gear, which arguably has an incredibly convoluted history to it, but you know, it's really character centric. They really wanted to kind of push that forward. Mortal Kombat has had multiple, you know, animated movies and series and live action movies, which Mortal Kombat 2 also coming out this year, right? Still ongoing. Like shows that it can transcend, show that these characters can really transcend past the games, just because of, like, you know, how they're written, what their lore is, their design, what their attitudes, what they encompass, right? And with, you know, some character select screens starting from just 8 Street Fighter 2 to like 52 in in Marvel too, or in Skullgirls 30 something odd, and MK now in the 20s and 30s, right? Like in each one having their story, their angle to be shown off. At the end of the day, fighting games aren't just like about how fast you can press them buttons, but they're about like those stories, those rivalries, the struggle between the protagonist and the antagonist. So like, yeah, it's clearly like that it's still going to evolve and it's still going to continue well past the game.
Yeah, and I think no matter how convoluted a story can get, if you have one of those 4 elements, if it's giving you a great experience in the past, or if there's a great moment that you can always kind of use as your anchor, or if there's a great performance, like Shao Kahn's "You Weak Pathetic Fool," you rock with that, like that will bring you back into it. Or if it's just if it is a great story, you won't. Some people love Tekken and love that the kings, all of those kings, and it's hard to keep up with how the kings and the armor kings and king twos and the mat. But if you like what you're seeing, you'll dive deep into it. Just like any comic, any film, any television show. If you rock with it, you know, I got this Godzilla poster behind me. Godzilla is incredibly convoluted, but it endures because people rock with the character or the moments. So, you know, power to dual rulers right now, man. You know what I mean? Power to it, because it is as convoluted as Guilty Gear is, probably arguably the most convoluted fighting game story in the history of all of fighting games.
Got me started on that.
I know.
We could do a whole other bonus round on that one.
But it still has an ability to be digested because people find a passion for it. And if that's possible, going back to your question about whether or not, you asked me this at the end of the last podcast, if fighting games will ever die, it won't, no matter how convoluted it is, because there's something about that character in that mess of a story that might be there. There's something in there that's like, I get that. I rock with that, and I want to learn more.
Well, as much as Aaron, you want to learn more, we got to wrap up this episode. But before we do head out, I want to ask you guys, who's your favorite character or your character lore in fighting games? Please let us know in the comments section below, or you can hit us up on socials at DoubleTapFGC. But before we go, Aaron, once again, thank you for coming through. Let the people know where you're at, where your awards are at, where you're going to hang them at, all that kind of stuff, your future projects. Let us know what you're getting into, sir.
So, again, your boy is the 2025 Podcast Academy Award winner for Best Fiction Podcast for Tales of Fists and Fireballs Season 1. I say Season 1 because there will be, has to be, must be a Season 2. And so there will be a Season 2. I have it projected right now in September, which is my birthday month. So I'm doing auditions, and I'm working on I have all the scripts ready. I'm just doing auditions for who's gonna voice the stories. I have some really interesting stories. I actually left a trailer for each of the stories for Season 2 in the Season 1 collection, so you can go on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Audible, wherever you get your podcasts, and listen for that. And so that's what I'll be doing from now until then. I'll be working on that, and I'll be on other platforms. Check me out at adhx2.com and also at Aaron David Harris at Instagram. I'll be on some other shows, some other places, kind of, promoting the win, going on a little celebratory tour. And you can follow me from there. All I really want to say is just thanks to you, thanks to Double Tap, thanks to the listeners because I know that had an impact. I know it did. I'm very confident about, what being on this show helped do for what happened last week. So, or what happened in Chicago. Thanks so much.
I appreciate it, and always a pleasure to have you on. Once again, make sure to give him a nice birthday gift and check out Season 2 when it comes out in slated for September.
Yep.
Slated for September. Make sure I don't put no promises on the man and come back with pitchforks on him. Make sure to go follow at Josh Adamas as well on Blue Sky. Sometimes maybe Twitter, but mostly on Blue Sky, right?
Never on Twitter now.
He's.
I haven't even.
Twitter don't exist no more.
I haven't even opened up the Double Tap Twitter. Like it's just all blue sky at this point.
On that note, make sure to check out Double Tap at Double Tap FGC because I open it up because I'm usually tweeting or talking to you guys on there. Make sure to hit us up there. You guys can check out previous bonus rounds, of course, at Double Tap FGC on YouTube as well. So check us out on the previous episode Aaron has been on, the multiple episodes he's been on. And other guests that we have there, as well as the podcast. New episode every 2 weeks of the month. Go check it out. But you can also follow me at #VS on Twitter. Hit me up, say what's up, DM me, no problem. I'll answer whatever questions. If you have anything to say to Aaron, once again, make sure to follow him. That's gonna be it for this bonus round. We appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Stay tuned for another episode in the future, TM as well. But once again, if you liked it, make sure to comment below, hit that like. Any kind of tweeting out and all that and sharing of it really helps a whole lot out. But in the meantime, though, that's going to be it for us this week. Once again, Aaron, thank you for hanging out with us. That's going to be it for this week. Catch y'all later.
Peace.